Hi, everyone. I'm back. She's back. Surprise. Bet you didn't see that one coming, did you? Especially since it's actually been 4 years since I last posted on this channel. I originally started this channel around 4 years ago when I was going through a very, very difficult time in my life. I was feeling very lost, and I shared a video where I opened up about my kind of lifelong struggles with depression, in particular, with suicide ideation, with loneliness, finding my place and my purpose as a creative person. And if you haven't seen that video, I would highly recommend going back to watch it now, as it does give you an idea of my history and of where I was back then. But I'm now at a place again where I want to start posting on this channel, but considering where we left it off, I thought it was only appropriate for me to give a little bit of a life update. And when I say a little one, it's gonna be a big one, I think. But I'll try to keep it short. Try not to yap too much. Essentially what happened after I posted that video, maybe I freaked out a little, maybe I changed my mind, I'm not sure, but I ended up making a rather radical decision for my life. I essentially decided to completely wipe the slate clean of my life. I was so deeply unhappy with life, with myself, that I quit my job. I quit my flat. I even went no contact with my family, which is a whole nother story. And I moved in with my sister in a new city with no plans, no job lined up, no nothing. But I was applying to jobs at that time, and I will admit, I did at that point decide to take those videos down because I was honestly afraid that having that information about me out there would damage my chances of getting employed, which, given today's climate, I don't think that's unreasonable to fear, though it is very sad that you can't be open and honest about being in a vulnerable mental and emotional state. But I have since made the video public again because looking back at it now, I think that was incredibly brave of me, and I'm only speaking my truth and being authentic, and I think that is something to celebrate. So I also think that a young version of me deserves to be seen and to be heard. So it's back up there. It was so strange going back to watch it because I feel like a completely different person now than I was 4 years ago. So hello growth, we love that. So essentially, very quickly after moving, I did manage to secure a seemingly very good job in a good company, and honestly it felt like a lifeline to me. It seems like things were kind of looking up for me after many difficult years, and I guess I got very hopeful that this would be sort of the turning point in my life where things changed for the better. Unfortunately, that's not quite how it went. In hindsight, perhaps it was naive of me to think that I could just wipe the slate clean and magically end up in a better, happy, joyous life. I think it just goes to show that you can make as many external changes as you want to, but you still carry with you, obviously, your internal foundation. And mine was very cracked. And basically, you can't outrun yourself no matter where you go. Lesson learned. Although the past 4 years have definitely elevated my life in so many ways, and I've grown a lot as a person, and I've had some truly amazing experiences along the way, met a lot of great people. What I thought would be the start of a better life ultimately turned out to be the hardest chapter of my life, full of the harshest, most painful lessons I've ever experienced in my life. And I've been through some shit before, let me tell you. I genuinely thought that I'd hit rock bottom before, where I was 4 years ago. But turns out rock bottom has a basement, and the basement has layers. So, in other words, it got worser. And I think, as you will see in the video, 4 years ago, I was essentially looking for opportunities to use my creativity, to use my skills and self-expression in some meaningful way. And I was looking for community and support to build me up. But the environment that I ended up in was basically the exact opposite of what I needed, given my history, my baggage, the kind of vulnerable state that I was in at that time. It was an environment that, rather than build me up and support me, it actually made me question myself. It made me question my worth, my value, my skills, my talent. It ultimately broke me down. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and it broke me down so completely. It was an environment and experiences that triggered my deepest, darkest, most painful wounds from childhood and my upbringing. Essentially, feelings of being worthless, feelings of being unseen, unheard, not good enough, not valuable. It made me just feel very, very small and insignificant and powerless. And it was a lot to deal with. I was essentially cracked open, and what was laid bare was my core wounds, which I had to then look at and heal and work through and sit with. It's the most challenging, painful thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I was doing all of that all by myself behind closed doors, while still trying to show up every day as my best self, going to work in a very difficult and challenging environment. But I am stubborn. I've got a lot of Capricorn in my birth chart, so I wanted this life so badly that I kept pushing myself until I just couldn't take it anymore. My burnout and depression just came to a breaking point last summer, the summer of 2024, when all of this had just taken such a toll on me that I basically ended up in the darkest place imaginable. And to anyone else who has experienced the kind of darkest pits that depression can bring you to, my heart really goes out to you. I know what it's like. I know how incredibly difficult it is to stay when everything inside of you is screaming for relief, to leave, essentially. So At that point, I ended up on sick leave. It was like my body just collapsed. I was so exhausted, and it took me several weeks of just flat out resting. I could barely get out of bed most days. And in early fall, I started getting like a smidgen better, and I was heavily encouraged by my doctor to get back to work. And so I did part-time, and I think I had like 2 weeks of kind of feeling a little bit lighter when, unfortunately, tragedy struck, not once but twice in a very short amount of time. First, in early autumn, my grandfather passed away quite suddenly, and just 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks from his funeral, there was a train accident where my father was sadly killed. And so all of this just added a whole new level of not just grief and heaviness and just a lot of emotions to deal with and a lot of things to handle, but also just a sense of kind of getting the rug pulled from underneath your feet, right? It was just a lot. But I still pushed myself into going to work part-time because I thought it would be good for me. I thought it would be good for me to have something to get up for in the morning, some sense of routine and normality. And maybe it would have been if I was in a good workplace. But after months of trying to recover my health, mental, physical, emotionally, while still being tethered to a job and a workplace that had been so painful and challenging for me, I made another radical decision. I quit my job with no new job lined up, no new plan, no nothing. I will admit it was the most difficult decision I've ever made in my life, but it was something that I had been thinking about for a long time. I think my body, my soul, everything in me just knew it was the right thing to do, but it was so scary. Obviously, it was so scary. And I honestly cannot describe to you in words how amazing, how liberating and joyous it felt the moment when I handed in my resignation. It was like, if you've seen that supposed meme of Nicole Kidman supposedly leaving the courtrooms after divorcing Tom Cruise, that's how it felt. That's how it felt. And I think anyone who has ever been in a job that was toxic or dysfunctional, or a job that essentially drained you, you get it. You get it. It's kind of like leaving a bad relationship in a way. But I did that. So now what? I'm still on sick leave from a rather serious case of depression and burnout. And honestly, this burnout, this depression, I feel like from a spiritual point of view, as someone who has been on a spiritual journey for many years, I would describe this as a dark night of the soul, or an ego death. And essentially, it felt like I died, essentially. Like everything inside of me died. I lost my sense of self, my identity. I lost interest in anything and everything, all of my hobbies, the things that used to bring me joy, the things I used to love, my creativity, everything just gone for months, And it's honestly the most difficult and scary thing I have ever experienced. But I am slowly recovering now that I've kind of allowed myself to fully rest, to kind of pour into myself and focus only on myself for the first time in my life. I'm slowly coming back to myself, slowly rediscovering myself, slowly getting that creativity back and the spark for life. And I really want to start creating again, but for myself this time, to try to nurture back to health that creative expression, the curiosity for life, the aliveness, if you will. And I felt like YouTube was like a good place to do that, and a place that I want to kind of reclaim for myself, because I don't want this to be like rushed or like any sort of pressure to it. Just a very slow and gentle and patient process. So hopefully this is going to be my place of sharing of myself, the things that I love, the things that bring me joy, and what that looks like, I'm not sure. But I'm just here trying to make sense of life out loud. And maybe you'll find something here that resonates with you. But yeah, that in very short, compressed format is my life update and what's happened over the past 4 years. And I'll probably make more videos around this, because I'd like to talk more about, why I decided to quit my job and that whole journey, everything that I learned about myself and discovered, the spiritual journey that I've been on, not just for the past 4 years, but the years before that. And in between all of that, just some fun, lighthearted stuff. So yeah, if you want to take part in that, you can subscribe, subscribe. It's down there. But yeah, that was my update. I just want to say, if you watched all of that, if you listened to all of that, thank you. Thank you for listening and for holding space. for holding space for me. And if you're someone who is navigating grief or burnout, confusion, depression, or healing, anything of the sort, just know that I see you, I feel you, and you're not alone. Although I know it can feel like that sometimes. I know how difficult and how lonely and how isolating it can feel to go through all of this, but it doesn't have to be, right? And that's partly why I created this channel in the first place, and why I want to get back to posting here now, is because maybe being able to connect with others who resonate or who share similarities, I think that can be very healing, or it can be very validating at least. And that's partly why I want to share of my story and share of my experiences, because I think that can also be validating to others. And it's important to me. These subjects of mental health, of spirituality and healing and all of that is very near and dear to my heart. So I think that might be part of unlocking my creativity and my joy for life again, is to obviously just connect more with my heart, the things that are close to my heart, and to express that out loud, unapologetically, So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, healing, spirituality, creativity, come along on the journey of self-discovery. Subscribe, right? But yeah, have I said everything I wanted to say? I don't know. Fuck. But thanks so much for listening. I guess I'll see you around, maybe. How does one finish off? How do I stop this video? How do I finish this up? I feel like I'm just going in circles. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Bye.